Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss and may not be suitable for all investors.
Good morning. It's Thursday, August 7th. I'm Phil Streible, Chief Market Strategist at Blue Line Futures. So it's shaping up to be a very busy Thursday morning here with a lot of green on the screen. Futures are climbing overnight with another day filled with a lot of earnings here from around the globe. The S&P 500, NASDAQ, Bitcoin, silver, all pushing up, all making new highs here in the overnight session with silver futures up about 2%. You also have Bitcoin futures pushing up about 1% as of this recording. You got the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ just under about 1% as well. So a lot of upward movement here, and it can be attributed to several factors here. And I'm going to keep this simple. So for the silver traders, all you need to know is one major headline here. China's export growth unexpectedly accelerated last month, marking the fastest gain since April. So if you look at copper, pushing up just a little bit here. We've been underweight on the copper market, but increasing our exposure in the silver market. Silver futures are breaking through, and if you get the chart back, that bull bear line right around that 37.50, 37.40 mark here, and pushing and accelerating higher. We're going to want to keep an eye on a few different levels here. 39.91, that was the recent contract high here, and the market could be pushing on up to that level here on any kind of unexpected breakout. You got Bitcoin futures breaking through that, what becomes old support, new resistance, now breaking above it, now becoming new support. So really the range on Bitcoin, 112 on up to about 120 here with that 116 mark right around your bull bear line. So looking at Corning stock, it is rising here after Apple announced a $2.5 billion investment, which includes to cover glass for all iPhones for the first time. So if you got an iPhone, the glass here being made in the US and also being put on those iPhones. So chip equipment stocks, they are rising following Trump's decision to exempt companies that pledge the investment in the US from his 100% tariff on semiconductor imports. Furthermore, if you trade the energy markets or if you're bear in the market, bear on the S&P 500, one of the problems is that you have Trump and Putin. They are expected to meet here for a summit in the coming days, and Trump has also indicated that it will also appoint a temporary Federal Reserve governor ahead of any kind of seat vacancy, which is expected to take place on August 8th. So basically what you're seeing here is that you've got a lot of optimism surrounding that we will have some kind of agreement between Russia and also Ukraine. So crude oil futures a little bit softer here, especially in yesterday's session, rising a bit here with the prospects of other outside markets rising as well. You do have gold futures looking for accelerated rate cuts with the CME's Fed Watch tool showing about an 88 to 90% chance that the Fed will cut rates at that September meeting. Now we are going to have one central banker, Fed Chairman Bostic. He will speak on monetary policy at 9 a.m. Central Time. But if you really look around the globe, again, a lot of green on the screen. Dollar index down huge yesterday. Do yourself a favor, pull up a chart of the dollar index, and you can see just bouncing to a lower high and really rolling over at the moment. We're going to want to keep an eye on 10-year Treasury yields as they are up about 1/10 of a basis point at 424 because of the fact if you get that sell-off, and I'll be looking at what that critical level support is on the tactical ranges on the 10-year note, because that could also potentially mark the high here in the gold market as far as today's trading session. For a lot of people that have been putting on gold, silver, things like that, we look to plant and prune our particular positions here and take off some of those positions around key levels of support resistance. So an 80-cent move in the overnight in the silver market marks an outside move here that we're not normally seeing here recently. So a big shoot up in that market, and we'll want to check on the options markets as a lot of those premiums most likely inflated in the overnight. Something to note here is that if you look at the ratio for 20-day realized volatility in the equal weight S&P 500 index, and these are things that I look at in the overnight session here, and I look at first thing in the morning, and I also look at after the market closes here. They had spiked to the highest level since 2020. Really what that means is that the rally is quite broadening, and that's why I've taken it into favor other outside indices like the Russell 2000, which is a heavily short indice here, and that's the one that all the hedge funds, all the CTAs are really short on that market and negative. And what I believe will happen is that they will have to capitulate back to the upside on that as you look at the earnings growth from some of those unprofitable companies really taking off to the upside as well. So if you look at Europe and Asia, they all both gaining here overnight with one of the fastest and one of the busiest days of the earnings season here, and optimism over the potential ceasefire in Ukraine. You got Asian stocks rising, really led by the technology sector and the region's largest chip makers expected to win some exemptions from the chip tariff here. So the MSCI gaining about 1% overnight. And again, I told you that's one of the ones that I really watch first thing here in the morning, and when I get up here throughout the overnight session and I check on these markets. You look at gold, the exchange traded funds, they cut a little bit, about 87,000 troy ounces, and I think that they really redeployed that capital here into other outside markets, with silver really taken off because they added about 1 million ounces of silver in their overnight holdings. So you get the gold silver ratio dropping to about 89 to 1 here, and you look at, again, other outside markets. Some of the grains here picking up just a little bit, dollar index just slightly higher, really British pound kind of taking off a bit to the upside, but no other real material moves in the currency sector here. But again, you've got Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, silver, and US equities all taking off to the upside. So today is most likely a day not to just sit on your hands, and probably a day to do something out there in these markets. So you got any questions, give us a call or shoot us an email at info@bluelinefutures.com. And remember that futures and option trading, well, it does involve risk of loss, and it may not be suitable to all investors. Good luck and good trading.